Joining us today is Tom Theil, Program Manager for AI Topics at Siemens Healthineers. He's working on real impact and purposeful topics like X-ray AI detection. In this episode, we'll explore tomorrow's tech workforce, discussing how culture values are shifting and how we need to consider and what we need to consider when diversifying tech teams. Welcome, Tom.
Hello. Hey, Jody. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to be on the podcast in this episode. Looking forward for the question and for the interactions with you.
Perfect. And thank you for giving up your time and sharing with our listeners as well. Of course, I've given a bit of a snippet of what you do, but perhaps you can give a bit more detail around your professional responsibilities.
Yeah, so we're doing one product family called Red Companion, AI Red Companion. So it's all about clinical AI. We try to have automated detections on X-ray images or on computer tomography images as well as MRs. We're collaborating with different suppliers on the algorithms. We are working on improving these algorithms also internally. So it's a big bunch, yeah, driving me forward. Always with the curiosity of the people. That is what is triggering me, and of course the innovation of the products.
So I guess on a personal note, it's the meaningful work that you're doing and naturally the support of what you're giving people that drives you. How did you kind of get there? What was your career path to get there?
That was an interesting one. Yeah, I think that was I initially studied IT and computer science with business as a part, but I ended up in the medical domain. Why? Because you said it already. It has a certain purpose. We're part of the medical supply chain for human beings, and you somehow see how to help diagnosing severe incidences and severe sicknesses of people. So that is really something amazing. From my career path, I started as a software developer. Then I was a system engineer. I did some outbound stuff. I moved to the US, came back after a while, took over a product manager position, and then ended up in leading a couple of development teams throughout the years. And I myself started in the program manager position just half a year back. So I'm still learning how this position feels like, how the new team where I'm in feels like. So yeah, in a
Yeah.
learning process and a constant one.
Good. And I guess you've kind of got the expertise, which I think will be very useful today as we discuss kind of your blend of experience from actually managing teams to also, I guess, as a program manager, pulling resources and people for different projects that you're running today. And before we kind of dive into the bulk of our topics today, could you maybe give us paint a picture for us on what it looks like in terms of your team setup, the structure, the
Mhm.
size, and the kind of skill sets that you have there?
Overall, I'm part of our R&D department. So in the management team that's located in Germany, in Forchheim, near Erlangen, Nuremberg area. So we're steering a global setup of multiple development sites. The AI Red Companion or the AI project or program itself is structured in local teams as well as in nearshoring, offshoring teams, which is kind of like um, organized throughout, yeah, I think 3 locations at the moment. Structure-wise, roughly 100 something people, it could be 150, if you also put in the steering roles on these development sites. So yeah,
Yeah.
globally set up and steered from a headquarter here.
Yeah. And I guess I mean, that's a whole nother podcast, right? In terms of offshoring and nearshoring and where staff sit. I also know that skills-based hiring has played quite a big role at Siemens Healthineers. Um, what's some of the kind of biggest wins that you've seen from that approach for you as a business, but also for you as an employee and your colleagues?
I think if you are hired on the right skills, on the right position, I believe that each person who then joins a certain job is really, really into this because it's your current skill set. It's what is driving you. So you could immediately start off and being a professional in that position. But also for the business, it has the gains that the people can contribute immediately. It's not something that someone comes from a total off and moves into a certain profession over time, over a year or 2 years. People really start off immediately. And I think it's a win on both sides. The right people in the right projects, and also at some point when it comes to technology at the right time.
Okay, so even though it's like skills-based hiring in a sense of there's a foundation of what's needed for people to come in and hit the ground running versus that window of opportunity where they can kind of upskill and learn different technologies as they're
Mm.
potentially moving through different projects and initiatives that you guys run. Of course, no system's perfect. What's the kind of challenges that have cropped up or that you've seen with skills-based hiring?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it when people move through the projects. Yeah, there is always some upskilling necessary. So different projects have their different challenges, depending on, in our case, it's a project which also focuses on cloud and cloud technology, while as there are other medical devices which you actually deploy on a site, which do not use cloud technology or cloud deployments per se. They're more on the classical engineering side, the deeper you go in terms of hardware. So there are differences when people move around, but also over time there are challenges. I mean, the technologies we see now, we all know the speed, how technology evolves over time. We need to think about upskilling, reskilling, new competencies people will do, but also about the different career paths. I mean, the project you are in as of today, you might want to step up, you might want to take up a new position, and somehow you need to learn new skills on your pathway through your career.
Yeah, I'm intrigued actually. Is it a case of, I guess, when you as a program manager, when you're pulling resources from different projects, is there kind of a mutual agreement between the employee and yourself to join the project, or is it kind of this is what's next for you as an employee? Here's the skill sets you've got to maybe brush up on.
Um, for the for the program itself, we have a pretty much fixed set of teams, people working there. So it's not that I might go every 3 months and pull up new people in. So it's all about
Mm.
continuity, that people are in this position for a longer time frame. It's on the one hand side a security for these people, but on the other hand, it's also something where we can do continuous business or continuously fix our problems, fix our bugs that every software has, right? But we could also improve new functionalities with these people because they know a certain history. But
Yeah,
on the flip page, if you do such a job for a too long time, I'm a strong believer that you should not come into your convenience zone, your comfort zone.
yeah,
So you need to also go out and find something new, find something that is triggering you to get out of this comfort zone and learn new things. Yeah, new not only new technologies, but also maybe a new social team where you're in.
yeah.
So in that sense, you ask if we are switching back and forth of the teams. Yeah, we're evaluating that. So on the program manager side, I'm more or less owning the program. We have HR managers as well, so which are responsible for the people, and in the discussion with them, but also with the people inside the program, we talk about possible steps what these people could do. So this is then coming back to this mutual agreement. Yeah, we have some opportunities for people. There are people who want to join, and usually we do these things on mutual agreement so that people switch their positions.
Yeah. Okay. So like a matrix setup where you've kind of got the person that's responsible as a direct report, having, and putting the best people forward that are motivated in that area, I guess, first.
Correct, correct. Yeah.
And I guess you mentioned obviously bringing the having continuity within the teams that you for your projects, for example. that also offers kind of, I guess if I was to relate it to something outside of tech, maybe like football teams where you have the same people playing together, it takes a period of time for the manager to kind of get them working in the same way and learning
Yeah.
how each other play. So I guess that's kind of a setup that is really, really beneficial here. Um, and another point I think you and I discussed before was around the kind of the diversity in the team.
Mm.
What when it comes to kind of generational differences, how does that play out in your teams?
That's actually a really interesting point. Besides of gender diversity, I believe that you need to have a huge diversity, but also in terms of generations and people playing it. Yeah, so you should have the whole bandwidth. But yeah, I think it makes sense to have some newbies on the block, and especially in software development. If you return from university, you have been exposed to new technology for the last couple of years. You've been studying that thing, you have been prototyping with new technology. This is what you do. While as people inside a larger company, they did not have so much time with new technology. I mean, of course, they did some skilling, some training, some courses, but I would just post that people from university might have more knowledge about new technology than people in the companies. So it's not like in other professions. It's exactly the other way around. Whereas people being in the bigger companies or in the corporates, they know the structures, they have a network. And if these two things come together, so the one know the technology and the other one know the structures and know the products and know the have the network inside, so that would be a good and very cool fit to efficiently bring something forward.
Yeah, and I guess as well, it's kind of a not only the blend of both, but it's chicken and egg. How often do you see, junior people coming out of university and saying, they don't get the job because they don't have the right experience or hands-on
Mm.
experience, and it's vice versa
Yeah.
for people that have been, in an enterprise or legacy business for a long time. I guess every generation has its blind spots in
Mm.
a way. Um, what do you think those are, and how do you see that in a team dynamic?
I actually had a quite negative example some time back where really you had people from out of the boomer generation bumping into Gen Z. Um, that was very interesting because the background of the boomer generation, I believe, is that there will be so many of those, yeah, and they were very harsh on getting a job and maintaining the job, and they were really fighting for getting and taking it. So I see a hard type of communication of these type in general, yeah, of this
Mm,
generation. While as if you have Gen Z, which is the entire opposite, yeah, they expect a valuable communication. They expect some mutual things. It's not like demand and conquer, but it's kind of like on we mutually evolve with each other. And this really led to problems inside a team. So
yeah,
with all the diversity, yeah, you might catch these things and you be aware what the different values of these different generations are.
yeah. I guess the loyalty goes a long way with people that are, perhaps typically from a boomer generation versus,
Mhm.
um, the Gen Z are more foul fast and quickly and hard and move on and find something that's right for them.
True.
And also with a level of flexibility. Um,
So I
have
can
there been a
confirm that, yeah. I can confirm that. Yeah, it's yeah, it's somehow in the nature if there is only a limited amount of jobs available, but so many people, which was the reality for the boomer generation. If you have a cool job, you stick to it and you make it fit to yourself or you fit to the job. And there's also some you get your elbows out and you're fighting for. Whereas
Mm,
if there are less people than jobs available, of course you can pick and choose somehow. And that is a difference. that is, yeah, perceived somehow.
Yeah, it's also, I guess, kind of a bit of fear coming into that, right? There's fear of losing your prospect in your job, whereas I don't think that Gen Z necessarily have so much of that. I
Mhm.
actually see a statistic, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was about how fast Gen Zs are getting fired. And I guess there's also an element of, well, you know, there's a lot more entrepreneurs today. There's a lot more people working for themselves than there used to be. So they may have that level of confidence that they can perhaps go on and either find something else, as you say, with more prospects, or go it alone.
Yeah.
Has there been a specific moment in your projects where you've kind of had that kind of generational tension come to light, and you've perhaps had to, I don't know, step in, or you've seen a conversation or something that's played out in real life?
Yeah, that really escalated to a certain extent. So we really, so that there was a lot of reading in between. Yeah, what is the difference? What are characteristics on the network? So in the corporate, we have some also within HR, we have some psychologists, and they could give us, especially the managers, some heads up, saying, "Hey, you need to learn this is a characteristics of a certain generation. This is a characteristics of another generation. You need to take care that both of them are somehow treated well and treated accordingly." So that was one thing that was new to me. I would have never
Yeah,
expected it in,
yeah,
in that sense, but also it was a transparency of making it so transparency between these generations. We really had workshops saying, "Hey, this is how younger generation wants to be treated with. This is older generation, how this is working." So somehow I would say maybe providing a manual to the different generations and making transparent who is kind of like motivated with what benefits.
yeah.
And
So I
then
guess there's
it
kind of a expectation on you to lean on the support of HR to understand, which is, I guess quite a privilege to have that function in the business. Um,
absolutely, yeah.
to kind of help you bridge those gaps. Are there any other ways that I guess you specifically I guess work and collaborate with others? Is there anything that you have to do proactively to work?
I guess one success was bringing content forward. I mean, I'm working with engineers, and the one thing is to have workshops and speaking with each other. Yeah, that's the one making transparent and giving this valued feeling to the engineers. That's the one part of the puzzle piece. But winning together, it's also one of our values of our company. So bringing some results out and bringing some products out where you have had multiple generations working with in the project. That is a success they can share, and that is really what them helped them to underline. Yeah, so we did it together, so it works, and somehow with
Yeah,
that, that is one very important puzzle piece to also the success, but not only um, to the generational differences or between different generations. I think it is always important. If you bring people
yeah,
together,
yeah.
they should be there for a purpose and bring out some products. And if they are out, that's something to be proud of. And of course, you could rely on the people then working together more profoundly in the future.
So it's kind of reaffirming that everybody's got the same goal here. Let's remember why we're here, what the outcome is, and then navigating how we get there.
Right, right. In other words, yes. Yeah. If you say you compare to a football club, I mean, if you have a team that never wins, no one will be really reluctant to stick to that game. The fans
Yeah.
not, the players themselves not, and but if you have a success story where you have a winning team, you want to be part of. Independently, if there are some smaller problems, you're more open to overcome those.
Yeah, and I guess this is quite well, it's got a lot more um relevant and spoke about a lot more for other areas of diversity. I guess generational is one that's kind of crept up on us a bit. It's not something that we necessarily recognize. So zooming out a bit, what do you think that other businesses perhaps need to rethink when it comes to learning and development, or even change management to support generational diversity?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I mean, there are some startup companies which live up. They are most of them, at least I know, they are a bunch of younger people. So you don't have this really generational thing at all, because you try to make something work, and if it's not working, you stop the entire company and start a new one. I would say on a different side, if you want to build up a sustainable business, or you have a product which is sustainable, especially in the medical market, where you also need to talk about maintaining it over years or over decades even. I mean, it would not be a good thing that if you bring out a product and then change it, or say, hey, there's no maintenance after 5 years and you need to buy a new computer tomograph. So if you are in such a business, the demand is always rethink how your people are evolving over time. So you hire your people at one point in time, and you expect them, in an ideal case, to be maybe, I don't know, maybe 40 years in your company. What is the master plan, how you evolve these people, and how you stack back newer ones, and how you want to mix these people? Do you want to mix them, or do you want to separate them? I believe you need to mix them in teams, because you have different skills, different skill sets. Yeah, the past ones, the network, the history, plus the new technology coming into. But the recommendation is really look into your departments, in your development teams, and in our case, it's our Scrum teams. What people are in there? Is it a balanced mixture between generations, for instance, or is there a team which is aging out? We also had these examples, within our company, but also beyond. What I heard is that all of a sudden an entire Scrum teams goes into retirement. So then you lose a
Yeah,
lot. You should
yeah,
always think how this is a rolling approach. So in a startup company, maybe you don't need to think about this, but in a company which is running over decades, this should be one of the basics.
yeah. So having those, I guess, workshops, having that function in HR to be able to drive some of those changes,
Yeah. So
and then being mindful as a manager or leader in the business that that exists, and almost having sort of metrics of what you should be looking out for, because who knows what we're sort of blind to today that could be, you know, so relevant and protective for us, and also innovative for us in the future. But something you and I discussed previously, which is particularly difficult to framework in an organization, is assessing business acumen.
mhm.
Given your computer science background, which you mentioned earlier, how do you personally balance technical with business needs when it comes to kind of decision making?
It's a strange one, because it's sometimes it's the total opposite. The engineer in my head wants to make something perfect. The business person in my head says, "Stop it now. It's good enough." Yeah, if you invest more, you cannot sell it to the price you would need to put on the price tag for it. And that is especially something I always give to my team. Say, hey, think out what is good enough. One of my previous managers said once, perfect is the opposite of good. And that is really some truth to it. And that is the importance of this business understanding. Some products need to, you can't really develop because it would be too expensive. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
cannot shoot something out immediately. You need to, in our case, it's an iterative approach. We continuously improve new functionalities and add new functionalities. We have an agile setup, which is organized in sprints, in iterations and quarters, and we also continuously release new functionality, which then also keeps this. You build something, you can sell something. You build something, you can sell something. So the things you sell actually pay off your new development. And if these cycles get too long, then you have a problem because you don't get a back funding of your R&D or the
Yeah.
entire PLM organization, and also sales and all the supportive functions which are around the product. So in other words, the understanding inside the engineers need to be there to a certain extent, that I understand that I develop to a certain level of functionality, and then I release it. Also knowing that it's just an intermediate step, and I need to put something on top in the future, but also understanding when to stop and have this feeling that, hey, this is something that can be sellable now. Maybe even during some breakdown and refinement sessions, that saying, hey, what is an appropriate slice I can deliver of a new functionality? I just imagine a product manager comes up, has a brilliant idea. If you just say, hey, I developed the entire brilliant idea with all the golden bells and whistles, who gives feedback on the one hand side, if this is really direction, if this is really hitting the market, but also how high are these costs? So if you have as an engineer understanding to properly slice something and just deliver the first slice, you could get feedback. The market sees if the direction is the right thing, does sales work, all these things. But you also have something brought into the market that, on the flip side, pay your bills again and praise your R&D again.
Yeah, and I mean, we see this actually becoming increasingly popular. We see a lot more product engineer positions, and the return on investment being something that they want to proactively see,
Mm.
or employers want to proactively see in interviews. They want to see where you've achieved what you've done and how you've done it, but also what the thought process was behind the cost. And it completely makes sense, but it also seems like we never used to work that way. And there's, I guess you can go into a lot of different directions here in terms of like UX transformations that have happened and all of that kind of thing. But why do you think it's becoming increasingly important to have that business acumen than perhaps it used to be?
I think it's the technology, how it evolves. I mean, we also like these big language models. The large language models came up. ChatGPT was all of a sudden there. Nobody really knew in the first weeks what to do with it. And then there was a big push, millions of people jumping on it, licensing getting sold. And with this example, I want to show that some new technology coming into the game all changes everything. So it's important on the to understand there might be some changes in technology, which makes the work that you did before, so the product that you did before, to a certain extent obsolete. So you need to rethink your product strategy. So if I would have invested everything into that and I could not change from that away, my business would be dead. So also that is this inceptional
Yeah, yeah,
innovations, but also regular technology innovations. Not on this drastic example makes it so that you need to know that you bring something out, you bring something to the market, and there are changes all the time which we need to comply with. So it's important to understand that we're not researching for 5 years or 6 years and then provide a golden nugget. We bring out something quickly and we evolve with the technologies.
yeah. Which I guess is why sign-up walls are so useful for companies starting new ideas. Um,
Yeah.
I guess as well with engineers that are being mindful about the cost, they can also for them as a benefit as an individual, they can show their value to the company and potentially progress if and create new areas like a lot of R&D projects offer. Um, because the technology is moving so fast, how does that impact the cost of getting it wrong?
Well, I think that the example I've taken with the 5 years project Going 20 years back when I started my career, this was the usual. You had projects like 4 or 5 years. If you see the market now, just imagine this drastical differences. Yeah. So 1 year from now, you don't know where you're standing and what the products will be. Picking up the ChatGPT example. So we saw ChatGPT as usual one, large language was arising. Now all of a sudden you have the agents. Who knows what is happening in the next year? I mean, there are researchers, they might know, hopefully, but we could expect a lot more to change. So if we really have these huge cycles still, you could imagine what it would mean that you have an R&D organization with 200 people or 1,000 people running for 5 years and then releasing something which is based on old technology. From a business risk, it could be a right product for the customers, but the business risk to have an old, outdated technology out there is simply too high. So then you immediately start after this project with a technology renewal phase, bringing you no benefits on the customer functionality side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you trap into cybersecurity problems with this. So coming back to the point, time to market is really an important thing. I'm not in time to market. I'm not only saying that we bring new features to our clinical customers, but also that we say, hey, we bring continuously improvements in terms of cybersecurity. You need to dig into technology renewal to achieve this cybersecurity resistance. We need to also comply to certain new standards. Like there is in Germany and speaking of cybersecurity, there's the C5 standards we need to comply for cloud solutions and so on. So it's really the importance to quickly deliver, to quickly change also to your surroundings. And therefore, business acumen is a very big need. Yeah? And you might fail if you don't have this in mind.
Yeah. And I guess AI is going to help find that market fit a lot faster. It can even potentially help on the execution a lot faster. But
Yeah,
making sure that you're going in the right direction in the first place is what is, I guess, going to be valuable for companies. But
absolutely.
yeah, for listeners that feel like them or their team is perhaps lacking in this department, are there any recommendations of resources that they could maybe tap into to upskill that you could give?
Um, so we're using a lot of online platforms. Not to make any advertisements that so we're using Pluralsight, for instance. Online courses, likewise, we use ChatGPT to ask. There's a huge knowledge behind it. But also we have external companies which help us support. So yeah, I think it's a combination of classical reading books, classical being on the news. There are blog posts you could follow, social media to follow. Actually, there's a lot of social media in the medical domain. I personally follow. So it's a mixed bag. So I can't say this is the one and only resource you could
Yeah,
trust of,
yeah.
but you need to be open on different channels.
And finally, if you had to leave listeners with one key takeaway that can help them future-proof their careers or their team, what would it be?
I guess my take is this diversity span a little bit bigger. I heard it a lot that diversity is only gender diversity. That is very important in itself. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, absolutely with it. But also you need to say that in a team, go for skill diversity. People with different skills, different backgrounds, not only technology skills, but also social skills, which is then important when it comes to this generation diversity, what we have been talking about. I mean, if you get all these things together, you have I used the word mixed bag before, but yeah, a mixed bag of people which usually are working pretty well together.
Cool. Tom, thank you for sharing your thoughts with me today. It's really been a pleasure to learn from you. The culture shifts that we're navigating today have slowly crept up on us, and I guess aging isn't loud, it's subtle, so that would explain why. But your conversation has been a clear reminder for the future of tech isn't just about smart systems, it's also about smarter communications and collaborations. For those listening, I hope this episode offered a fresh perspective on leading and growing resilient teams. Thanks again, Tom, and we'll be back soon with more.
Thank you.